Alright, let's get started on the base color. So we're going to go back all the way to the beginning because we're going to use some of this early stuff to drive our color. Alright, so from the clouds 2, we're going to do a quantize just like we did above. Yeah, right here. And for this quantize, we're going to do 6 on the steps, 6 steps. Okay, that's standard. And then we're going to drag out and do an auto levels again. I'm just having these auto levels lined up just to keep it nice and clean. And then I need another blur. I'm just going to line it up with the range above it. And for this blur, we're going to do 0.38 and quality 1. And then we're going to do another histogram range like above. And then for this one, we're going to do 0.5 and 0.5, which is already the case. Good. Let's grab these guys and just bring them back a set. And then from the bottom, we are going to drag out, make a connector. Oops, like right here. And then from that output, we're going to connect up another connector up here because we're going to use this connector for the roughness in the next part in the next video. So we're going to go to the top one. And then we're going to put this into a blend. So let's drag out, do blend, delete this connector, and then bring this back. Now on top, we're going to plug in from the first histogram range of the first row. So we have 2 histogram ranges here, 1 and 2. We're going to pull from this one, from the first one. We're going to pull out, and we're going to plug it into the top. And we're going to do the same thing that we did here. We're going to do a connector here in the middle. Just put it there for now. Okay. So now for this blend mode, we're just going to keep it at copy, and we're going to do 0.6. And what we're doing here is we're basically blending the two together. We're blending the clouds with the quantize and the initial surface with the quantize. And then from here, we're going to do another histogram range. And then this one, we're going to do 0.75 on the range. We want to extend it because this is going to be our color variation. And then we want to blur it just a tiny bit. And then for the blur here, we're going to do 0.25, very subtle. And then 1. And then from here, we're going to do a gradient map. I don't think we've used this before, so this will be our first time here. Now for this guy, I don't want to go too much into it. I don't want to get sidetracked, but just click into this bar and you'll spawn some pointers here. Delete the middle one. Double click the end, and then we're gonna type in we're gonna do 200 on the value, so like the brightness, we're gonna do 200 and keep everything the same. And then for the initial slider here, we're gonna do 68. So we're gonna go here and just type in 68 like that. So it's like a darker gray into like a brighter gray, and that's it. Keeping it simple. So you can see here what it's doing. What a gradient map does is it takes, this is like 0 and then this is 1. So it's saying anything that's 0 or the bottom is going to be this color, and any value above it in a linear gradient is going to be this color. So let's start visualizing our base color here. So let's drag up our base color pretty high up, and then just make sure they're somewhat in the same line. I'm going to move this uniform up here just in case I ever want to turn it off. Alright, like that. And then I'm going to put an HSL here, and it's going to spawn it in between. and the halfway point of whatever spaghetti you're working from. And then we're going to do our favorite HSL. And I'm going to copy paste this HSL and put another one above it. Like that. Alright, so after this HSL, here we're going to do a blend. And we are going to move this guy up here actually, upstairs. I'm going to do another HSL from this HSL. And for this guy, for the second one up here, we're going to do, for the lightness, we're going to do 0.55. That's it, just the lightness. So what I'm doing here is just creating a brighter version of this one. Because I want two. I want the normal color and then one brighter. And you'll see why. We're going to plug this guy on top. And then as usual, we need to plug in something in the opacity. So we are going to go down to this guy. So this is our surface noise. I'm just going to grab these guys. You can just call this one surface noise. And so from surface noise, we're going to pull from the blur. So from this guy. Okay. Grab, drag, and we're going to plug this into here. Now I like to have, like if you have seen my previous, the wood planks video, I like to have my stuff kind of matching. So if you like go this way, these two should match up. Because this is adding the height information for this noise, and then here we're adding the color information for that noise. So you can even like, you know, if you want, you can grab this guy and then just, you know, you could do that if you want it. That way you know that these are together. If you'd like, if not, you know, you could just call this one, you know, O2 surface noise color, and still place it above it if you don't want like this connecting stuff going through your entire graph. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Now, as usual, just because we're using the same noise, like we're using this noise for the height, and we're going to use the same noise for the color, we don't want to apply the same amount. So that's why we're pulling from before the levels, because this is a very subtle noise, but we don't want the color to be as subtle as the height. So we always have a levels. Now here's the new trick you can do. In order to keep yourself organized, what you can do is when you select a node and you press D, I think it's D for dock, so like docking, you can dock nodes so that you could save space basically. And for things that you're doing like repetitively, I like to dock because you already know what's happening. Oh, I'm using a level here because this is what drives the intensity or the strength or the opacity of my of the noise. So for this guy, I am going to for my levels, I'm going to do like 0.25. For the middle one, I'm going to do like 0.6. That's going to stay at 0.5, 0, and then here we're going to do 0.4. And let's play around with this. Actually, I'd probably do about 0.65 here. So now if we click here, if we look and we turn this off, you can see what it's doing. So, you know, we're using this mask, and we're like putting a layer of paint on top, basically. Nothing too crazy. Okay. So this guy is going to be a darker version of the guy below it. So this top HSL lightness, we're going to do 0.425. So it's a darker version of this guy. And then we're going to pull from it, and then we're going to do a connector. Now I'm going to move all of this because I thought I needed more room than I did. So I'm just going to move it in here. Okay, now this guy here is going to be the spots. We're going to color the spots. So we'll do a blend. And then how did I do this? Let's see. Okay, so what I did is, again, we don't want to use these levels because these levels were used to drive the intensity of the height. So I'm going to take from this slope blur here. I'm just going to put it, I'm going to put it down. Actually, we'll move it. We have plenty of room. I'm going to do up here, and I'm going to do a levels. And then again, before this levels, I'm going to do another levels because we're using the levels as the to drive the intensity of the color, just like we did for the height. So now that we have these guys, we want to add them. And we're going to swap them. We want the big ones to be in the background and the little ones on the foreground. And then we're going to do max lighten again because we're doing the same blend mode that we did here. Wait, no, not here because we didn't add them together. It's what we did with the noises. How we wanted to add this noise and the little ones, and we did a max lighten here. We're doing that here. So now I'm going to dock these levels. And I know the top one is for the little guys, and then this one is for the big ones. So now I'm going to drive this into the blend, and the darker version of the HSL is going to go on top. Like that. So you can see here the spots. Now obviously I think these are a little too intense. So now you can individually now, because they each have their own, tell it how much do you want each one to go through. So for the little guys, we'll do like 0.5. So for the top one, the smaller guys, we're going to do 0.5. So I'm going to see before, after. So it's still there, it's just way more subtle. And then for the level in high, I want to do 0.75. And I might even be too strong, so we'll do like 0.4. And you can play around with that. And then for the bigger ones, the darker, the deeper it seems. And these aren't that deep, so we're not going to go too crazy. But I do want them to be more dark than the smaller ones because they are bigger. Probably do about the same. We'll do like 0.6 maybe, or 0.55 or something. 0.4. Go with 0.4. And then we'll do a level in high, like 0.8. Okay, so now we got our spots painted, looking cool. Alright. Now, let me look here. Okay. We're going to push this HSL out. And I noticed not a problem, but something else we could do, but I'm going to hold on. Maybe we'll come back to it at the end. Okay. Now here, we are going to do another blend. Actually, we'll just do it now, just to make sure we're doing it right. Now from this guy, we are, how do I want to do this? Okay, bear with me here. From this blend where we have our spots, we're going to pull out and do another blend. And we're going to put the blend right here, and then we're going to make this blend subtract mode. And then just bear with me here. We are going to go back to our concrete damage, or our damage, and we are going to pull from where we added both of them together. So right here. I'm going to put a connector here so that I can move all of this over. And actually, we're going to move this guy. We're going to move him at the bottom because this is where I originally had him. And I think I know why now, to keep it cleaner. So I'm going to move this down here. Find a nice little clean spot for him. Actually, we're going to put him up here. And then I'm going to do a connector. And then this connector is going to go in here. And then we're going to move all of this down. We're going to do another connector. Like this. Whoops. And then maybe even move down further. Oops, not this guy. Like that. Alright, now we can start cooking. Okay, so we need a histogram scan for this guy here. And it's going to come from this connector here. I'm going to do a histogram scan. I'm going to delete this connector here. And this is going to plug in the top here. And for this one, we're going to do 1, 1 on the position and the contrast. Like so. And this is going to be subtract. And then we're going to dock this on top. And then from this guy, we're going to pull out and we're going to do a levels. Because this is going to, let's do this. Whoops. This is going to go there. This is going to go in here. And we're going to dock this levels. And then, actually, no, we don't need those levels. Actually, yeah, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Now, these two guys are going to do the same thing, basically. So, this goes in both their middles. And then this guy goes in both their tops. Now, you're probably wondering, Snow, why are there two? The reason is, I'll tell you in a second. Actually, I'll explain to you now because I know it'll be hard to wrap your head the longer I wait. So what I'm doing is, if I add damaged, right? That's gonna add these big chunks. Now, these chunks are going to overpower the spots that we have, right? So right now the spots are darker, right? So if I add the damage, these spots are going to be, you'll see like a spot here and it'll be darker than this. We don't want that. We want to subtract our cracks and our damage craters from the spots so that when we turn on cracks and damage, the spots are not painted because they're not there, so they don't need to be painted. So what's going on here is that I have my spots, right? You can see them here. And then this is damage, and I am subtracting this from the spots. And that's why you see these are missing. So this one right here, this top one right here, is for where there's no cracks and no damage, right? So it's like, okay, here are your spots. Now, if there's cracks, or if there's damage, do this one. And then we need another one for the other. Because then we also have cracks. Well, actually, I think all of this is just for damage because we're going to do another one that's going to be for cracks. Yeah, so this is saying I'm doing one for the small cracks or for the small damage and another one for the large, the small and the large damage because we have two. If you remember, we have a subtle one and then a deeper one. So yeah, so we're subtracting the damage. Yeah, right here. We're subtracting this because it's coming from both of these from the subtle. I'm sorry, it's coming from the subtle and the big ones. I guess my frames just threw me off. So if we look here, this is just spots, and then this is spots with damage. The spots get subtracted. Okay. Now, oh, okay. What this is gonna do? This is gonna add the damage paint or the damage color. So we're gonna take from this guy, and we're just gonna pull out like this. Continue the road. Gonna do a connector. We're gonna plug it into the top. Now, what's our mask? Our mask, it's going to be this guy. So it's going to be before this histogram scan, which is coming from here when we blended them together. All right, so we're going to plug this into the top here. Well, actually, no, not there because it's just a placeholder. We're going to do a switch, but this is going to be a switch color because we're no longer in grayscale. We're using color because we're doing base color. So this is going to go in the true, and then the base is going to go in the false because this is going to be, I'm going to frame this, and we're going to call this one, this is also damage switch. So I'm keeping the same name with damaged because these are the same switch because we're going to go in here and to create the parameter, we're going to say damage so that they share the same boolean. So when you say, hey, this is damage, turn the boolean on, it's going to affect the base color and the height. This is why this switch is color, but it's still using the same thing. So let's make this one red because red is for switches. So you can see where the switches are happening. And again, you can slide this over so that it kind of lines up with this guy. You can move it over here. And then this is our damage color. So now I want my damage to be darker. So anything that cuts below the surface is going to be darker. So if we go back here and we turn off damage, we have our normal color. And then when we turn it on, it darkens the damage. And this is where that's happening. This is the damage color. So if we turn this off, the damage will stay on, but the color here will go back to the normal color. It's very subtle. But if you look at the map here, you'll see it better. Okay. And actually, we're going to add another levels here. And we're going to dock it. Now for this guy, I want my darkness from my crevices to be stronger because right now it's not very strong. So I am going to auto levels this levels here. And now you can see that it's way darker. Right? Because we're bringing down the, let's undo that to show you what's happening. Because this is all gray, so it's already not applying the full value of my darkness from this guy, from the darker version of it. And if I auto level, it's going to give me more oomph because it's not going to be so, see how it's so weak here? By auto leveling, I'm bringing in my entire range. So you get a way better gradient to where it gets darker as it goes down. Now, if you want to get rid of this gradient, you can move this guy in the middle here. And you can bring it to the left. And the more to the left you bring it, the less the gradient becomes. So that looks pretty cool. Now it's probably too dark now, so we're gonna move in this guy, the bottom right guy as usual, and we're gonna just, find a good spot for the damage. Maybe about there. And you can make this strong. So yeah, you can find the spot that you like. I'm going with, let's go with 0.275. So now you can see the clear change between, no damage and then damage added. So let's recap real quick. So if we look at this top one, this is like concrete with your normal spots everywhere, normal. Now this is concrete with spots, but the spots have been subtracted out based on the crevices. And then here it's with those crevices on. If you were to put this in here, then you can see your spots are in the holes, which is not what we wanted. So we needed this guy to be a subtracted version of this guy. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. If not, let me know in the comments and I can go over it a little better. Okay. So then that's just it for damage. Now we need to basically do the same thing, but for cracks. Alright, so we're going to pull out from that guy. And this one's a little more simple because it's just the cracks. So for this guy, we're going to do a blend. I need another switch color. And then this is going to go into the false. This guy's going to go into the true. And then we are going to frame this guy again. Or frame this guy as well. This is going to be our cracks switch. This guy goes in there. Move this up. Make this red. Okay, so we're just setting it up. So again, we're going to use the same color, the same darker color, darker version of the base. So we're going to put that on top, pretty standard. And then this is going to go here, because this is where it's coming from. And it's going to say, hey, if it's cracked, go here. If it's not cracked, go continue on. So we're going to call this guy my brain is cooked with cracks. So this is basically where the cracks are being added. Okay, so now what are we going to plug in here? Well, we already know we're going to use the levels because that's how we work with our intensity, how strong we want the color to be. And then what we just need to pull from is from the cracks itself. So this guy. I'm going to pull from output and plug that into the levels. And I'm going to dock the levels because I know what this level does. All of my blends pretty much have a levels. So I'm going to just play around with this one. Okay, so now we can't see it because actually before we do that, we got to make sure we change our parameter here to cracked. Now let's turn off damage and turn on cracks. And now you can see here that we're coloring our cracks. And if you think this is too dark, go to your levels and just bring it down to wherever you want. I went with, let's see. I think I just kept it where it was. I don't think I touched anything. Yeah, I like that. Maybe we turned it on a little bit. Or, yeah, I think let's do like 0.75. And then you should always be checking your base color or your albedo to check it without any shadowing or without any of that getting in the way. Okay, so that's that. Now here, let's organize this a little bit. Let's move this guy over here, move this up, move this here, and you guys should be be cleaner than me. I'm just trying to go fast here. Let's do that. Okay. Now we are going to pull from this connector here. I'm just gonna do a little connector, and this guy is the range from the bottom here. That connector is the one that you want. Now we're gonna pull all the way down. Let's pull this connector all the way down over here. I'm gonna just keep it near the top a little bit so it doesn't get in the way of our roughness later, because our roughness is gonna go here. Let's move this guy over. Now what we're gonna do with this connector that we pulled out, we're gonna do an auto levels. So I'm just gonna do this. Do auto levels. This is what we do at the end of our base colors a lot of the times. Now here we're gonna do a normals or a normal. Just a normal. And we're gonna change this normal to 0.15. Now similar to everything else that we've done, normals can also be blended with other normals. So that's what we're gonna do. We are going to grab let's grab all of these guys right here, and let's just move them out a little bit more. Now we're gonna grab from this. We can delete this guy because this was just a placeholder. We can grab from the end of the crack switch and pull up and do a normal. Because this is not going to affect the actual normal. We're just using this normal information to drive the remainder of our color. So we need to blend these two normals together. So there's a node called normal combine, not blend. And now we're going to leave it as it is. So if we get close, you can see here, this is the top one here, and then this is the bottom one. And then together, they make this. If I increase the strength of one, it's going to increase the strength of that one without increasing the strength of the bottom one. I want to have different values for these different normals. This bottom one is going to have a value of 5, intensity of 5. And you'll see why soon. Now, I don't think it matters which one's on top and which one's on the bottom. So I'm going to invert and revert, and yeah, it doesn't matter. So from this normal combine, I'm going to pull out and we're going to do a blur. Blur color, it's because we're not doing grayscale anymore because of the orange, because the normals use orange information. So we're going to use a blur color because it's our only option. Now from this guy, we're going to blur about 0.25 and then turn the quality up just like a normal blur grayscale. And then from this guy, I'm going to put this guys down here. From this guy, we're going to do a curvature, just a normal curvature. And then we are going to lower the intensity. But first, we're going to do a, oops, not that, histogram scan. And for this histogram scan, we're going to do 0.425 on the position and the contrast of 1. Now, you're like, so everything's gone. That's because we need to increase our curvature intensity. Is that what I do? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I use an intensity of 10. Now 10 might be a little much. You know, do it to your liking. And this is what I ended up using. Now that I look at it, like, it's pretty strong. But we're gonna do something else to this. We're gonna pull out. We're gonna blend. Now we're running out of room, so I'm just gonna grab everything here. Oops, just gonna grab this and then this stuff. Then we're just gonna move back. Okay, so back to our blend. We're gonna add some noise because right now, what is happening is, let's do a blend. I'm gonna, since our base color is gray. Actually, yeah, since our base color is basically gray, I'm gonna use super white, so white value of 1. I'm staying in color because we're still working with base color. I'm going to plug it into the top. Now it's making my entire concrete white. I'm going to plug this into the opacity. And now I'm telling it to make, well, let me hide this blend for now. See, so now I'm using this mask and say, hey, whatever is white, make it, wherever there's a white in the mask, make it the color white. And you get this, like highlighting, right? This is obviously way too much. Now, right now, it's basically highlighting all the edges. And if you like that, go for it. If you want to break that up a little bit, there's several things you can do. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to do a Perlin noise. And we're going to leave it at 32. And then I'm going to do a levels. And then from this levels, I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to do auto. I'm going to hit this guy up here. Okay. And then I am going to pull this little guy up a bit because I want to get some more black in here. And the reason why is because I am going to put this on top of this blend and I'm going to do multiply. And you know what multiply does is anything times 0 equals 0. So anything that's multiplied by this pockets of black is going to delete that. So now our highlights have like some variation. It's not perfectly highlighted everywhere. So now it's a little bit more varied, but right now it's a little too noticeable. So what I want to do is I'm going to do an auto levels here. I'm going to bring this guy up. Maybe about the, what did I do? Let's see. I did 0.22. I did 1. I did 0.5. Whoops. 0.5, 0, and 1. Okay. Yeah, I want more breakup because I think it's like right now it's completely missing in some areas. Like right here, I think it's a little too large. So I'm just gonna scale this up to 64. And I am going to, as usual, put a levels here. And I'm gonna dock this one. And then here I can play around with the how much of this do I want. So you can turn it down and make it more subtle. If you want it less pronounced. Something like that is fine, I think. And I did about 0.56 for this. Okay. Now I'm gonna move this guy down here. And then I'm gonna pull from the same node, so from the end of the cracks, from the end of the height, and this is just a placeholder to keep it all nice together. So from here, we're gonna do an ambient occlusion. I'm gonna do the HBAO, because it's a little cheaper than the ray tracing one. And then from here, I'm gonna turn down the height on this guy. Actually, no, I think I actually leave it the same. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna leave it the same. And then I'm gonna pull out from here into actually I'm just gonna spawn a dirt node here, like we've been doing in all of our tutorials so far. And then this is gonna go into our position. Actually, no, my bad. This goes into a curvature. And this goes into curve. That's what I meant to do. Now the curvature, we're gonna increase the intensity to 10. So it really pops. And that's gonna, if I undo that, if I go back to 1, you can see it makes a little bit of a difference in the dirt. So we'll go with 10 and then we can play around with it afterwards. Okay. Now here, I'm just gonna change some stats. I don't want the dirt to be too overpowering. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do 0.4 on the grunge amount. And then leave everything. I'm gonna change the grunge scale to 2. Yeah, I like 2 better. Now I'm gonna drag this out. Drag this out. And another blend. Plug this into here, and we need a levels as usual. We're gonna dock it. And then we're gonna use a color for dirt or for dust. And the value that we do for this one is going to be, we're gonna use a uniform. And then we're gonna do, let's see, what do we do here? 0.04 followed by 0.11, 0.32. Then this is gonna go on top. And then you can see the difference right here on the 3D viewport. So this is with the dirt or dust, and this is clean, and then with some of it. And then, we can use our levels here to fine tune how much of it we really want. I'll go with the 0.675. Whoops, 0.675. And obviously you can play with it. Maybe you want, more. Maybe you want less. Maybe you want more grunge instead. Do as you'd like. Is that it? And then you guys know me as you. Let's bring in the let's turn off cracked and turn on damage. See what that looks like. You can see we're getting some highlight here on the damage of the craters. Very cool. And you guys know I like to add a little sharpen, especially for something like concrete. It's supposed to be very rigid. Obviously, I think 1 might be a little too much. So obviously we're gonna go with 3. Just kidding. I'm gonna go with like 0.5. So let's see. Off, on, off, on. So again, up to you. You don't need to have it. Preference. I like to make it pop. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. And now that's the end of base color. And now we are going to delete this guy. Move on to roughness, the fun part, which gives it that juicy look once we get some roughness going. So if we turn off our base color again, just to see where we were. This is where we started. This is where we're at. I think I'm going to turn down the darkness of this crevices a little bit. So I'm going to go here to my damage color. Then I'm going to turn down this guy. So, wait, it's not this guy? What am I missing here? Oh, it's actually my dirt. It's a little strong. There you go. Go with that. Before, after. Yeah. Now let's see what it looks like with the damaged off. Okay, so yeah, pretty normal concrete. Or whatever it is. But yeah, it's super shiny, so let's work on that now.